a long time ago. I was invited to do Bishop T.D. Jakes' Mega Fest. And he called me and asked me to do an hour comedy set. And I told Bishop Jakes, I can't do that, man. I can't stand on stage and not cuss for an hour. It's church people, dog. It's a big Christian festival. And I told him, I said, Bishop, I can't. He said, you can do it. I said, I can't. An hour? Did you see the Kings of Comedy? I mean, I told him I couldn't do it. He said, no, man, I know your heart, you can do it. So it was a year before I did it. And so we were in a restaurant talking about my career. And I had a bunch of friends, we were sitting at the table, they said, man, you've done everything. I said, man, I've introduced everybody. And they said, man, I've thought about everybody I've introduced. I've introduced Barbra Streisand. I've introduced, I don't care who you are, Elton John. I brought out every hip-hop artist, made their first appearance on the pop, done everybody. 37 years, I've introduced everybody. They said, man, is there anybody you wish you could introduce? I said, well, if I make it to heaven, if they let me bring out Christ, that would be like the ultimate introduction. So they said, well, what would you say? And so I was just at this restaurant, and in a humorous way, I just started listing his credits, you know. You know, he's got a headshot on church fans all across the country. His father is the author of the book that's been on the bestseller list since the beginning of time. You know, his mother's still headlining the Catholic Church today. You know, he performs miracles. He could turn water into wine, had the world's biggest fish fry. You know, fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. You know, I'm just as a comedy. So I'm writing it down. I gave it to my bodyguard, and he kept it. So a year later, I was getting ready to do the festival, and I said, man, I got to come up with a closing bit. And so my bodyguard said, hey, man, remember a year ago you did this introduction to Christ? I said, yeah, but I don't remember that stuff. He said, I kept it. And he pulled it out of this bag. And so I started reading it, and I decided I couldn't do it because Christians would be pissed, you know. Christians some touchy people when it comes to laughing. They don't have a really good sense of humor. So I thought if I did it in front of church folks, it would be like the end of my career. I thought it wasn't a good idea. And so I did it in front of my bodyguard and comedian named Rickey Smiley. And Rickey Smiley played organ for his church his whole life. I met Rickey Smiley back in '86, 2 weeks after Rickey had got shot 5 times in the phone booth. Rickey Smiley got shot up in Birmingham in the phone booth. They just shot the wrong dude. And so I met him at a comedy club. He was real sick, he was bent over and stuff, so I didn't see comedy in him at all. So I met him and I found out he played church organ and stuff. So Rick was a Christian, right? So I brought him out to my ranch and I started working on my set in front of him. And then when I got to the end, I said, Rick, I was thinking about doing this joke, but I don't think I should do it. So he said, tell me what the joke is. So I pulled the paper out and I started doing this introduction to Christ. And as I was doing it, when I got through, I looked over at Rick and he was crying. And he said, man, that's the greatest bit I've ever seen. He said, you gotta do it. Now keep in mind, I've never done it before. So the night we filmed the special was the first time I ever did it. And I asked Rickey to come out as Sister Bernice. He has this character he does in church called Sister Bernice. He came out in a hat and sat down on the organ. And I had never practiced the bit, never done it. And I had 20,000 people downtown at the Phillips Arena. And that's why I did it. And I did it in front of 20,000 people. And it was one of the biggest bits I've ever done. It changed my life that night. That night, it really did more for me than anybody else. But as I did the bit, when you see the movie, when I dropped the mic, the lights actually blacked out for 90 seconds. But for the film, we edited it down, made it look like they was out for 10 seconds. But it's out for 90 seconds, the crowd went crazy. When I cut the lights on, all the policemen were crying. All the nurses, the whole building was crying. And I walked up there and it just cracked me. So it was probably the single greatest piece I've ever written. People have offered me hundreds of thousands of dollars to come and perform it at their church, and I won't do it. because it was a one-time thing. I didn't know how it happened, and I've never repeated it. I've never repeated it, and I've never been able to watch it. I've never seen it since. I started watching it one time, I started crying, so I said, I gotta quit watching it. So I've only done it one time, and I've never seen it again. It was a one-time event, biggest moment of my comedy career. And after that, God gave me everything. Everything.